clean and oil your grill. Your steaks will love you. Spiced, spicy, and dare I say it, perfectly cooked and sexy. This is sexy food. It's why I call them Marry Me lamb chops, because if I make these for you, you're gonna wanna marry me. Want to buy these incredible spices? Just go to andrewzimmern.com, look at the top, click on spices. Dried oregano from the garden, garlic, shallots, white wine. And how does this beautiful grilled fish taste? Well, I salted it. I'm gonna squeeze a little bit of that charred lime on there. Not too much. I mean, just, you know, enough. You don't want it to be too citrusy. This meat and the charred skin lifts right off the bone into that beautiful parsley sauce. It's one of my all-time favorite fish recipes, and best of all, it's made with farmed Pacific red snapper. Wow. I mean, it's so forgiving. And cooking whole fish on the bone, well, it just tastes better than anything else. This one, big time winner. Get on it. Outside, we're grilling, we're making, slushy cocktails. I mean, spring has sprung. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you to the good folks at Flor de Caña. We are celebrating them today, one of our sponsors, along with the people at Shun Cutlery. Let me tell you a little bit about something that you may not know about Flor de Caña and their One Tree Planted program. Flor de Caña is the most sustainable, eco-friendly rum on the planet. They're certified carbon neutral and fair trade. They have been planting 50,000 trees a year since 2005, and this year they want to plant an additional 20,000 trees with the help of One Tree Planted. You can donate by scanning the QR code on the bottleneck hangers here, or visiting their profile, which you can connect to from our website through this. I mean, we got 100 ways associated. Everywhere you see this, you'll be able to connect to them. I mean, this is the right way to do things. There are certain aquaculture companies that for every salmon pen that they have, they plant like a half square mile of clam and oyster beds, filter animals to clean the water. So even though their impact is very small on the environment, they're more than making up for it by putting the filter mollusks in there. Flor de Caña is doing the same thing with their business. Their business, it's sugarcane, right? So by planting trees, they're making a net positive impact, which is just absolutely fantastic. I hope that we can all work together. I believe in a greener future. You believe in a greener future. Believe it or not, that is one of the big tent poles of Flor de Caña rum, is they believe in a greener future as well. I mean, think of Nicaragua, a stunning country with mountains and ocean and grasslands, and every biosphere you can imagine is there, including cloud forests, vital to the coffee trade. So it's super, super important to them. They love their country and they love planet Earth, and they want to do something to make a difference. What are we doing today? Well, before the ice melts, I want to do a couple of things for you. First of all, we're going to make a classic rum cocktail. I love making this cocktail for friends at home. It has several very simple ingredients. It has Grand Marnier and ice. It has lime juice. Goes in the ice. Obviously, you need something that's a little bit sweet, right? Because we just put a bunch of lime juice in there. This is almond syrup, orgeat. Now, you can buy a commercial product, but it's so much more fun to make your own. And you make orgeat by combining simple syrup with homemade almond milk. You just soak the almonds overnight, puree them in a blender, put them through a nut bag, yes, I said nut bag, or a series of strainers, get the milk out, and then stabilize it with just a little bit of booze. I use Flor de Caña rum because all the drinks that I use orgeat for, I use rum with. So that's both my sweetener and gives it a slight almond taste. And this Mai Tai, frozen Mai Tai, is just, one of the most popular drinks on the whole planet. And then, of course, we need to add some of our Flor de Caña 12. 1 drink, 2 drinks, 2.5 drinks. But the way Madeline and Vicky put them down. And then you want to emulsify this thing. I want pure, slushy Mai Tai heaven. Recipe for this Mai Tai, as well as how to make the homemade orgeat syrup, is on the website at andrewzimmern.com. Now, Do you see how homogeneous that is? That's what you're looking for. Don't fill it all the way up, but when you see it pour, you can see no clumps, no lumps. I really should have made a non-alcoholic version of this for myself, but what can I say? This is the cocktail of your dreams. You can put a little short straw in there. Throw a Twizzler if you want. I'm just kidding, don't throw a Twizzler. But this is that classic Mai Tai of your dreams. Now, a lot of times at home, I will serve this over pellet ice. In other words, a pureed drink over pellet ice. The way it melts, it makes it more drinkable. It also increases the amount of water volume in there, which on a hot summer day, if you're doing these at a party, you don't want people drinking so much booze. It's a boozy drink, but you can lessen that by pouring it over pellet ice or small cubed ice if that's what you have. So please enjoy. Madeline has been here all day. We have an event we're doing after this. Madeline needs a sip of Mai Tai. Let us know what you think. By the way, Madeline does not dole out comments willy-nilly like that. She's very, very, very particular about that. So if she says it's delicious, you can count on that being delicious, because no one likes to tell me that something I make is more than Madeline. Okay, what are we doing today? We are gonna do some grilled skirt steak. I've made a rum sauce with it. I'm gonna serve it with some incredible flatbread. My friend, Chef Rennie Ortiz from Austin, Texas, taught me how to do this 10 years ago. And I've used it all summer long. I have 20 of these in my freezer. We put it with recipes all the time. It's a ridiculously easy flatbread. I'm actually gonna cook it very briefly right now on our grill. I'm just gonna put a little oil on the bread here, just so that I can char it. These are bacon fat and scallion tortillas. You heard me right. Bacon fat and scallion tortillas. Recipe is on andrewzimmern.com. They take seconds on that seasoned grill. You can roll them out thicker and cook them like naan, either in your oven, or if you have a green egg or a Kamado Joe, you could do it a little bit differently by using the inside of that to actually press the thicker bread against it. Just turn it over a couple times until you get that nice charred look on them. I'm gonna do another piece. Again, recipe is at andrewzimmern.com. One of the most popular techniques that we've ever featured. I was at a barbecue with my friend, and he whips them out, and I'm like, God, this is the best tortilla I've ever eaten. And he's like, scallion bacon fat tortillas. And I'm like, well, you don't need to say that to me twice. Now, one of the things that I love about these scallion bacon fat tortillas, if you have a whole bunch of extra herbs in the summertime sitting around and you want to get rid of them, put them into your bacon fat tortilla. If you have some dried spices sitting around, the last quarter inch of something, put them into a bacon fat tortilla. I've done this quick bread more times than I can tell you. And when I say quick bread, I mean, what is that? 30 seconds on the grill? You can do them in a grill pan, you can do it in a saute pan, you can do them on a hot stone that's in the oven. You name it, you can do it. Actually, this is a combination of natural hardwood charcoal and some binchotan. Like I said, we're going to be doing an event here later on, and we're probably going to be plucking some of that binchotan in as the base, because we're doing some small grilled items. Nice and windy out here too. I'm afraid I'm afraid to put my paper anywhere, but hold on one second. Stick that down in there. Okay, now, next thing that we want to do is we want to get our meat cooking. I did one thing ahead of time, which is marinate this. These skirt steaks and are just absolutely beautiful marbled heaven. I'm a big fan of the outside skirt. I think it has, I mean, everyone, I think universally is a fan of that cut, so ask if you can. My secret weapon here, and I make this several different ways. For those of you who have poured through our website, you'll recognize the technique. Many years ago, I had half a bottle of sake left from something, and I was trying to think of ways to use it up. And I had a can of pineapple juice in my cupboard. And I had one hot chili. And I split the chili, put the 2 or 3 cups of sake and the can of pineapple juice in a big pot and reduced it to a glaze. And I tasted it, and it was just about the best sauce for grilled meat or chicken that I've tasted in a long time. So lately, because of my relationship with Florida Caña, I started doing it with rum. And with the rum, it gets a nutty, sweet flavor that's perfect with the pineapple, obviously, think tropical drink. But it's really good with fish as well. I would put this on anything. I have a squeeze bottle of this in my fridge at all times, and we're gonna use that to drizzle over our little steak plates. So the first thing that we wanna do is we wanna put this onto our grill. These are skirt steaks. We marinated them with olive oil, garlic, and this stuff. This is Mediterranean magic. It's one of my spices from Badia. It's got a ton of mint, dried orange peel, and chilies. Really formidable spice. And it's similar to a lot of the spice blends that I would see in Croatia, a lot of Eastern, Croatia, Adriatic, and then into the Eastern Mediterranean, right? Where a lot of mint is used. Now, one of the things that you'll notice, we were talking about this earlier, was I'm grilling over high direct heat. What does that mean? Really hot grill, and the food is directly over the heat source. If I push all the coals to this side and then grill on this side, it's high indirect heat. Make sense? If I was doing chicken, I like high indirect heat because I don't want sooty flare-ups on my chicken. But my chicken has to sit in contact with the heat source for longer. If you have stuff like skirt steak or other steaks, luxury cuts that are only gonna be cooking for, I don't know, 5 minutes aside, 6 minutes aside, then by all means, go high direct heat. I'm sure you can guess what would happen if this was chicken. If this was chicken, the fat would drip down and it would literally incinerate itself, right? Or just black, it would not work out. But charring this over direct heat is exactly what you want with red meat. Now, the nice thing about the binchotan here is that it burns super hot and super clean with very few flare-ups. And so you'll notice if you cook with binchotan a lot, which is what are used in yakitori bars, a lot of Japanese grilling, a lot of Korean grilling, you will have fewer sooty flare-ups. So absolutely love that. Really, I dressed up. These are tiny little anchors because, as the village people say, I'm in the Navy. Now, thank you very much. This is my naughty Santa beard. It needs, put it this way, it's weird, right? COVID is still raging. It's still with us. Please check out my Instagram page for something we posted this morning, partnership with World Central Kitchen and Chefs for India. A huge shout out to Chef Benit Chauhan for starting that with Jose and getting a lot of help and needed relief to those that need it in India. But you know, we just found out today from the CDC that we don't have to wear masks as much, and on and on and on. So things are bad. On the other hand, they're really, really good, but I can't get into my barber to trim the old beard. And obviously everything from the neck down is completely manscaped. But the beard, tough to get in for the appointment. You could add smoked salmon and fudge on top of the meat if you wanted to, but I don't know why you would. I mean, if you wanted to take things in an Italian direction, maybe you would serve this sliced on top of a fresh tomato salad with some Parmesan crisps or Parmesan breadcrumbs you made. If you want to introduce the Parmesan flavor, there are a lot of ways that I would do it than just sprinkling it on it, right? This is a thinner cut. That's almost done. This one is thicker. I'm just flipping that a couple times so we don't get too funky on it. I'm going to let the meat rest for a solid 5, 7, 8 minutes before I even start to think about cutting into it. And I'm just going to use the plate that I had the olive oil on that I used for my tortillas. Skirt steak, because it comes from the belly and diaphragm of the animal, it's really necessary to cook it past medium rare. Under medium rare, you'll find like some other cuts from that part of the animal, the diaphragm area. It's just too tough and chewy. But the minute you get the temperature up past 140, 145, up to 150, when it gets into in between medium rare and really almost to medium, all of that connective tissue melts and it becomes really tender. It's another reason why I recommend the outside skirt over the inside for flavor and tenderness. And I'm just going to take that off right there. We marinated this since last night, but if you just do 4, 5, 6 hours, that's fine. Remember, with a rub like this, and it's a wet rub, in other words, it's not sitting in liquid, right? I mean, this is what the pan looks like, right? So it didn't absorb liquid, it's just a wet rub that sits like a paste on the outside of the steak, right? So very, very, very important to remember that sometimes your food isn't like sucking it all up. It's not like a brine where we put a turkey into liquid and it penetrates throughout the whole bird, right? Okay, so put that over here. We've got our meat there, that's going to rest. Put that next to our Flor de Caña Mai Tai. Please remember, go to our website, One Tree Planted, go to your liquor store. When you're there next time, you're all there all the time, scan that little QR code right there and help Flor de Caña plant more trees with OTP. They've got a partnership with One Tree Planted. They've planted tens of thousands of trees already and they want to bust out the record this year. They're working to make our future greener, and I applaud them for that. I don't like to associate myself with companies that aren't trying to do things to make the world a better place. Flor de Caña is no exception. They are working to make the world a better place. Okay, so did I use my little, no, there it is. All right, so I've got a little bowl because I'm going to make a little salsa, right? Salsa does not mean what you think it does. It's just a Spanish word for sauce. But I am gonna make just a fun little yummy herbal thing to stick on our steak. You know, I'm not a big fan of chimichurri. I'm just going to be honest with you. However, I love fresh herbs, and yes, I am using the tender stems Number one, I don't want to waste. Number two, they are delicious. Not the thick fibrous stems of the mint or the cilantro, but the thin little stems are absolutely fantastic, and they have a ton of flavor. So I've got that all in there. I'm gonna squeeze a little bit of lime juice, get some acidity in there, which is great for a rich, fatty cut of meat.
Andrew, where are you at right now?
I am, great question. Thank you. By the way, this much thicker, fattier piece is ready to come off. We are in our outdoor kitchen setup. This is actually our prep kitchen. It's the part you don't see whenever we're shooting AZ Cooks. Madeline has already knocked back her first cocktail, and we're about to give her her second one. Oh, JP joined in the action. Okay, so tomatoes. Many of you are actually in tomato season, so I wanted to show you this simply because I know a lot of you have tomatoes that are coming off the vine now. The southern third of the United States is in tomato season. It's May in Minnesota. We do not have local tomatoes yet, right? But one of the things that I think is super, super nice, take the cores out. Obviously, if you're using vine-ripened tomatoes much differently, sharp knife, paper-thin slices.
What's that knife?
This is Schun's line. This is their Damascus. Which one is this? Their dual core Damascus, but in blonde, which I happen to really like. And for some people's homes, it's ideal, right? So I'm gonna put this there. I've got some nice sliced tomato. I've got some onion here.
I have another question.
Yeah, fire away.
What has been your worst kitchen injury, burn or cut? Asking as I type with a bandaged finger. Oops.
Oh my gosh. When I was doing the local Channel 9 affiliate morning show, I was frying something, and my, you would do it, there would always be like a celebrity who was doing a book tour or whatever, and they would always ask them to help me out in the kitchen. This is when I was doing live local morning news. And so I'm doing this fried like donut thing, and they took a dough ball and tossed it into the oil. And the oil went back and forth, and I reached forward instinctively to move the pan. And a little tidal wave of oil came up over the pan and actually onto this hand. And I put it behind me, and we finished the segment. I didn't realize I was in shock until the next thing I remember, I'm sitting down, hospital, horrific burn on my hand, but we have an amazing burn unit here at St. Paul Children's Hospital, and they got me back to, you can't even tell that I had that horrific burn, but that took me out of action for months. That was probably, when I was like 20, I was working at Alain Senderaz 3-star Michelin restaurant, L'Arc Strada, and after months of hard work where I was just like mopping floors and picking beans, I was allowed to shuck oysters, and because I'd grown up summers in Long Island, and that was my first job, was shucking clams and oysters, I was really good at it. And a French oyster knife is basically a knife with a handle coming straight out of it. It has 2 sharp ends, and it will go through, and you can puncture a tire with it. It's not like an American oyster knife that has a dull tip. Some are curved, some aren't. And I'm shucking oysters, and I'm just pumping it out for a couple weeks, and I'm just showing off for the French cooks that were treating me like shit for, boom, I put it right through, it's hard to see, but I put it right there into my hand, and I mean, but I was so afraid, this is the toxic kitchen environment that a lot of chefs talk about. I was so afraid that I would lose my position. I literally reached up above me where they had bottles of brandy and cognac for the pastry team to work with, poured it over my hand, wrapped it in a towel, worked my shift, and then walked to the hospital at like 2 in the morning after cleaning up. just shave some onion. Up. And I'm gonna put that in here with the herb mix. So why shave the onion and then put it in the herb mix? Why not dice it? Because if I dice it, it's gonna make sort of like a homogeneous blend. I don't want that. I actually want those pieces of onion to cling to the herb, because I think the look of it is gonna be so much nicer on the plate. And we have lime juice in there, so I'm just gonna put a drizzle of olive oil.
Can you use a different herb?
Yes, of course you can use whatever you want. All that matters is that it tastes good.
How do you know if it's gonna taste good?
You experiment with it. If you don't experiment with something, if you don't try something, then you're never gonna know. Most of the things that I've it's like this sauce. One day I was like, oh, sake, pineapple juice, a hot chili, let's reduce it to a glaze. I know juice reduces to a glaze. Let's try it and let's see what happens. And it was so delicious, and now I do it all the time. And by the way, if you have fresh ripe pineapple and a juicer, juice it and use fresh ripe pineapple. Use pineapple, mango, and peaches and put them through a juicer and reduce it along with a little bit of booze. Rum works beautifully. Flor de Caña is the best of all. And reduce that with a hot chili. You will be just gobsmacked at how insanely fantastic it is. All right, so everyone's caught up to date, right? Mai Tai, bacon flour tortillas, roll them out a little thicker, make flatbread out of them, whatever you would like. I'm gonna place one here, I'm gonna place one here. I've got my herbs and onion with lime and a little bit of olive oil. I've got my thinly sliced tomato. Pretty good. We have a little bit of salt. I have seasoned these aggressively with salt. Fantastic. And now we're ready to rock and roll. Yes, what's your question?
Someone wants to confirm, so the combination of charcoal that you said you were using is applewood and what?
No, it's hardwood charcoal and binchotan. And the combination allows us to cook with a lot of flavor and some high heat with very little sooty flare-ups. Those small little logs, you can order them. They're used in Thailand, Japan, Korea. There are brands all over the internet. They're all compressed charcoal products, and they work beautifully, absolutely beautifully. All right, so I've just taken a piece of this, and it's a perfect medium with a pinkish blush. And I can see here that the strands kind of go at a 45-degree angle on this piece, right? So I want to go against the grain for tenderness, and this is something you really have to be aware of with a skirt steak, a flank steak, other cuts from the diaphragm or other than the luxury cuts where the grain does not matter because there's so much interior marbling. Here the grain really matters. You don't want to cut with the grain and make stringy pieces of beef. You want to cut against the grain. So instead of going straight, I'm actually going to go at a absolutely perpendicular angle to the grain. And I'm going to cut. It's rested, so all of those juices are staying in there. I have a nice sharp knife. I want to go paper thin. And I'm going to show you two ways to do this. Wow, that's just perfectly cooked and rested. All those juices are in the meat. It's still pink, but they're not, the juices and our money and all the flavor and texture is not running all over that cutting board. So, oh yeah, that's good. Fork and knife meal with just a little bit of carb. There we have our flatbread, that bacon fat and scallion tortilla. We're gonna put our herb and onion on that, right? I'm gonna stick a little tomato there because it's wonderful to eat with, and I want people to use some intention with that, with their fork and their knife. And then, this is a very, very, very strong sauce. You don't need a lot of it. This is not the kind of thing where you're gonna stick anything more than a spoonful and a half per portion. And we'll put a nice dollop there on top of that little black char mark that wound up there. And that's a great knife and fork way to do this. You can do the tortillas ahead of time and wrap them in a warm cloth. You can grill the steak, you make the salad, slice the tomato. This is a lot easier to do as a weeknight dinner than you think, and you've got all of these wonderful flavors that are Central American, they're Caribe Island, they are a little bit of Asia in there. It's a super, super, super fabulous way to eat. Now, the other way that you can do this, put a few slices of tomato, put a little bit of your onion salsa on there. Let's do the same thing. Against the grain, really thin. You can see all of the connective tissue that's in there is just yielding and perfectly cooked at a medium, pinkish medium, except instead of putting 4 or 5 ounces of protein on there, which is a nice portion, I just have like 2 ounces of protein here. Boy, I'll tell you something, and I am not saying this because I did it, but please pay attention to how you cook your meat. Each cut of meat has a different way that's optimum for tenderness and flavor and for results on the plate. And when you have something like skirt steak, which is so delicious, one of my favorite cuts, you don't want any juices on your cutting board. You want the meat to rest and absorb all those, and you want to cook it to in between medium rare and medium and let it rest and do it over high direct heat. Absolutely perfect every time. And what we have here is something more akin to a taco than anything else, and is the perfect way to enjoy this. Questions, comments, criticisms? No, I'm not drinking the Mai Tai, but I really want you to try that recipe. By the way, recipes for the glaze, for the orgeat syrup, for the Mai Tai, for the rub, for the steak, for everything is at andrewzimmern.com. What do you got for me while I try this?
It's a taco sandwich.
That is a brilliant question. Originally, yes. I do not consider corn masa bread. However, pre-contact times, pre-colonial times, the first peoples of what is now Mexico would take mixtures of dough, cook them much thicker than the tortillas of today, and use that to reach into pots filled with braised vegetables, wild meats in many cases. Those were the first tacos guisado. So in that case, that hand bread with meat would make it a sandwich, because I'm on the record, bread plus meat equals sandwich. So the answer is sometimes. Brilliant. Whoever asked that, brilliant question. Go to bed tonight knowing I think highly of you.
Your puppy's so cute. Is he potty trained?
Thank you. He has his own Instagram account, which I got for him while he's still taking, a wee every once in a while where he shouldn't. We had him, he did 5 days in a row without taking a leak in the house. Crate training him the whole 9 yards. He's 7 months old. So I brought him to the office the other day, and every time he wasn't with me, he took a piss somewhere. I think he must have gone like 5 times. This, by the way, is while we're walking him every 45 minutes. So who knows? He was around JP's dog. So I'm guessing, and JP's dog is highly trained and adorable. But I think he was so excited to be around another dog. He has not taken a shit inside the house, thank God. And he's super cute. And please follow him at Luca the Legato if you go to my bio on my IG page, because there's some other Luca the Legato in Nebraska. Don't bother following them. Seriously, it's just cute pictures of a dog's face, that's it. We have real content for you, and we're telling a story through Luca's own voice. But I had to misspell Legato on purpose so that I could grab the Instagram handle. Anyway, continue. Yes, Luca the Legato is wonderful. He sends his best to all of you. He's cuter. He's like a Wookiee.
So someone doesn't know how to cut against the grain in the meat. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that and how to know what to cut?
One of you come up close here. Do you see the grain in the meat? Those lines? Those are actual pieces of protein. That is the grain. The grain runs this way. So I cut this way against the grain in the opposite way that the grain goes. If I went and followed the grain, you would have stringy meat. By the way, this is ridiculous.
Who is someone you would love to share this dish with?
Vicky and Madeline and JP. But if they weren't here, I've been very out front about this. I've many celebrity crushes. Sarah Silverman, Brie Larson, Kesha, because I believe in everything she stands for, and I love to be the rescuer. Any of them. Give me 15 minutes with them to cook for them, and that's all I need. 15 minutes and one of these babies.
Someone's asking, how much could I charge for this tortilla? Bacon.
That?
Yes. Just the tortilla. Like, how much, if someone made it, how much do you think they could charge for it?
$1 million.
What is the food you crave most of?
What do I crave most often? That's a good question. Noodles of all varieties from all different countries. I don't know why. Probably because I have to restrict my intake of them.
What type of fish would you use if you made fish tacos?
Oh my. I can't think of a fish that I wouldn't make fish tacos with. One of the things that confuses me about fish tacos, so many places try to use something that isn't from where you are. So as long as it's of that place. If I'm up in Newfoundland and I'm eating fish tacos, I want it to be cod, right? If I'm in, Maine and I have fish tacos, I want it to be, mackerel or flounder or lobster, right? I mean, you want it of the place that it's from. I'm a big fan of fatty fleshed fish. Sometimes that doesn't fry so well, so you have to sort of temper that because you're making thin little pieces and frying them, which is why most places use firm-fleshed white fish. You see a lot of places using, cod and halibut and stuff like that.
Could you do this on the smoker?
Yes.
Why don't you like walnuts?
You know why I don't like walnuts? Because I don't.
I spent 15 years on the road making bizarre foods. I'm the guy that likes fermented walrus anus, so I get to not like a couple of foods. I'm not a fan of walnuts. I don't like raw cookie dough, okay? At me all you want, but come eat with me for a couple weeks in, you know, some other continent halfway around the world and let's see how you do. And with that loving and kind thought, I want you to please go and scan this QR code and donate to help make the world a better place. It's something really cool that our sponsors are doing. I love Florida Caña for that. I was in love with this product ever since I first visited Nicaragua 10, 11 years ago. And so for 9 years, I was cooking with it and loved what it did both in my kitchen and when my guests drank it. Eventually, they got wind of how much I liked them and came on and sponsored us. And I say that because I fell in love with this brand before we had a business relationship, and I'm so proud of this kind of stuff that they do. One Tree Planted is an amazing organization and project, and so I applaud them and thank you so much for helping them in their fight to make our world a greener place. Thank you, JP, Madeline, and Vicky. Thank all of you. This has been super, super cool. I love this recipe. You're gonna wanna make this every night of the week, and you're gonna make jars and jars and jars of this stuff and use it all the time in your cooking. I promise you, it's gonna light you on fire. Have a couple Mai Tais tonight. Don't drive. Enjoy the spring. Drink in your driveway like real people. Get a beach chair out and sit in your driveway and make some of these, the bacon fat tortillas, and make some of these wonderful little steak sandwiches, right?
An easy summer dinner inspired by all those great flavors from around the world. A tri-tip sirloin, could be a lamb leg, could be a whole roast sea bass, could be a spatchcock chicken, some ducks, some chicken thighs, it really doesn't matter, rubbed with ras al hanout, parsley, olive oil, and red wine vinegar. An incredible lemony, vegetable-laden orzo pilaf, sweet and sour pickle salad, an incredible tzatziki, and of course that tri-tip along with the roasted artichokes that we did on the grill. How good is this? Yeah, it's that good. So it ends at the table. It spends a lot of time at the grill, but this whole meal really starts in the kitchen with making our tzatziki, with our spice mixture that is going to marinate our beef, lamb, chicken, whatever you're, or even fish, whatever you're going to serve as the main grill item. And of course the cucumber salad. So I guess the first thing we got to do is get started with that, which is 2-to-1 vinegar to sugar, lots of sliced cucumbers, red onion. You want to throw a chili in there, go for it. You want to throw dill in there, go for it, but that's kind of where it starts. And these stunning little cucumbers, some are from my garden, some are from the farm stand down the road. It's the perfect time of year to be getting into these small chub cucumbers. I'm gonna tell you right now, the secret to using a mandolin, whether it's this style, any type of mandolin or slicing device, is to look at the piece of food that you were slicing, not at your fingers. If you look at your fingers, you will cut yourself. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you look at, I'm just doing this, letting these slices fall into the bowl. If you look at your fingers, you're gonna forget that there's several other fingers holding on to it. You have some fingers on the back side. If you look at your food, you're actually looking at the blade. And that's really what I want you to do. Your body kind of won't let you slice your fingers unless you've had a couple of drinks or a gummy or two. So let's not do that while we're using a mandolin. But look at your food and you won't slice your fingers. Look at your fingers, you will slice your fingers. I have a poblano pepper. I'm gonna cut that up and add it to my cucumber salad because why let it go to waste in the fridge? Red onion. 2 cups vinegar, 1 cup sugar. Whisk. Doesn't take long, a minute or two, get that sugar dissolved. Dill. I'm gonna save these gentle fronds up top for my tzatziki, and I'm going to use the stems for my pickled cucumber salad. Put them in the vinegar, let their flavor bloom. It's a nice, gentle thing, especially for those that aren't really fond of dill, just gives it a gentle dill flavor. So here's how I can make this pickled cucumber salad and use 3/4 quarts of cucumber onion mixture and only 2 cups vinegar, 1 cup sugar as my pickling solution, because I do it in a Ziploc bag rather than in a bowl, because I don't want to waste a lot of vinegar and sugar. So I can use very little marinade, get the same effect, and it works like a charm every single time. So I've got this bag, and all I do is take my pickling liquid or salad dressing, depending on how you think about this. Give a last little swirl in there. And there it is. And when I occlude the air in this, I am going to have full contact with all of that vinegar mixture and the cucumbers. 4 or 5 hours in the fridge, and this is ready to go. All right, let's make the tzatziki. Chop some dill. Chop some cucumber. And I'm looking for a nice small dice on this. So I'm gonna make sure that all of my pieces are small before I get going. I don't need to, this is going into liquid yogurt, so I don't need to get into analysis paralysis, but I do wanna make sure these are about 1/16 of an inch, something like that. Here I've got some nice planks. One cucumber will do the trick. Come back and cut those 1/4 inch long pieces into 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch dice. One clove of garlic, and I like to pass it through the microplane so it disappears into that sauce. I want to put a shallot in there. Take your knife, draw it across and through the shallot. I'm able to get 4 slices there. And then I come down with the front of my knife. And then when I go this way, I have some really finely minced shallot. And if you want to really make them disappear, don't put them on a microplane because it pulls out too much liquid. But you could even make a pass or two with your knife and really mince that shallot super fine, because you want to bite down on little pieces of that shallot in the tzatziki. Lemon juice, no seeds. Small one is fine. You don't need a lot, a tablespoon or so, maybe a little bit more to taste, but you want the acidity in there. Very, very, very important. And I have these wonderful little peppers from the garden. And I'm gonna slice those really thin. This is a mild chili. It's just got a little bit of heat. And I'm just gonna make a pass with my knife. I just love the flavor of a little fresh chili in with this. We put that in there as well. Now, to me, and everyone has a different opinion, tzatziki isn't tzatziki unless it has mint in it. So grab some mint from the garden. Yes, the dogs agree. Pull the leaves, yes, off of them. And I just roll these up in a little ball and make what I call a poor man's chiffonade. And then come here, it's not too exacting. And then I come against it the other way and just chop it up. You're looking for, what is that, about 2, maybe 3 loose tablespoons. And we put that in there as well. That's gonna be great. Nice, thick Greek yogurt. It really is the best. And always mix that first 4-6 ounces in. Some people prefer this as a dip as opposed to a sauce for grilled meat. Quiet. Now, if it's a dip, I may be adding just a little more yogurt because I want to taste all of those vegetables. But as it is right now, it's too vegetably and chunky, right? So I'm going to add another 2, 3, 4 ounces until I see that it's got that great tzatziki sauce as opposed to tzatziki dip appearance to it. Put in my salt and pepper, tasted it a couple of times, and I think this needs some really nice olive oil. Sometimes some yogurts have better fat content than others. Plus, I like the flavor of olive oil in tzatziki. So just a couple of tablespoons, much in the same way that you would finish a piece of food that comes out of a saute pan or the oven. I think a little olive oil sometimes is just fantastic. Oh yeah. So the next thing we need to do is make a very quick little herby, garlicky, oil vinegar marinade for our meat. And we're gonna put garlic in it, we're gonna put onion in it, and I'm gonna put ras al hanout in it, which is a spice mixture from Northern Africa and from the Levant that has allspice and clove and peppercorn and coriander and cumin. It is sold as its own thing. Lots of different brands. You go to the supermarket, you're gonna see ras al hanout. It is just a wonder. I love that combination of some of the sweet spices in there, and I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons to my blender cup. An onion, a really fat garlic clove, a big handful of parsley. I just need this as a rub. It doesn't need to be swimming in it. I'm going to add a few tablespoons of homemade red wine vinegar. You can use any kind of red wine vinegar you like. My friend JP made me that. A few big glugs of olive oil. Add some salt and pepper and buzz this up. I had intended for this to be a boneless or bone-in leg of lamb, but I went to 2 or 3 stores, no leg of lamb. More about that in the written portion of this Substack post. But what I got were some beautiful tri-tip sirloins. We'll get them nice and rubbed down. We'll get some good char on them on the grill, and it's gonna be delicious. This rub that I made is very thick. It's like a paste, and that's what we want because I want it to adhere to the meat. And so I'm just making sure I get all of it out of there. Let me show you what I have. It's very aromatic, right? It's very, very herbaceous. It's got a little bit of tart aroma from the vinegar, and I'm just scraping down the sides. By the way, I over salted it on purpose. And then I am going to pour this down over my 2 pieces of beef for the grill. Each one's about 2 pounds. So this amount of marinade is enough for 4, probably to 5 or 6 pounds of meat, whether they are chicken thighs, pork chops, leg of lamb, lamb chops, or these babies right here. And I'm just going to rub that, I mean, literally rub it into the meat, and then we'll get them ready to go on the grill in a couple of hours. There they are, all nicely rubbed down. Now, any excess marinade, I'm gonna scoop into a little bowl, and when I flip the meat the first time, and I've got that nice charred exterior, I'm gonna pour half on. When I flip it the second time, I'm gonna pour the second half on, and then probably cook them over indirect heat. Let the grill get nice and hot, obviously, hopefully 450, 475, but indirect, and let them roast until they're in between medium rare and medium for a tri-tip. It's just a fatty cut. You need to get it hot enough on the inside to start to break down some of the connective tissue that's in there. It's a wonderful grilling cut. Really pumped about this, but I like to get it past medium, or past medium rare rather, but not all the way to medium, and let it rest. Nice and pink inside. Next thing you gotta do, light the grill. Natural hardwood charcoal. I don't need to use either of my really big machines or my pit barbecue or my Kamado Joe's for something like this. I'm gonna cook some artichokes. I'm gonna grill some beef over a traditional kettle grill. This one is my PK grill. I really like it a lot. Cast iron. Could use some better finishes. I'm not really fond of the composite plastic components, but all in all, the PK grill gets a big thumbs up from me. Next thing we gotta do, trim our artichokes, because we're gonna be roasting those on the grill as well. Lemon. Rub it on those cut parts, set it aside. I do that out of habit. I mean, these are roasting on the grill. We're not gonna see any browning there, but it's a habit. Make sure you use nice, thorough strokes when you're cutting through there so you don't cut yourself. Only 18 more artichokes to go. All right, these are done. Once the coals are ready, we'll get our beef and our artichokes cooking. This is the setup I like on my PK when I'm going to be grill roasting meats. I have my handy little trap door here. Add more coals. They're almost 100% gray, 80% gray. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these beautiful tri-tips and I'm gonna lay one sort of at an angle there, and then try to do something similar here, curl that around, and let those start to char. At the same time that I'm doing that, yeah, can you tell I don't have my tripod? I've got some extra virgin olive oil, and I'm just going to squeeze a tablespoon, maybe a little more, just to melt down into each artichoke in the center. I'm gonna put those, I'm gonna roast them on indirect to start. And And then eventually I'm going to char them in the coals themselves, right? Let's move that in a little bit. So there's the pretty traditional setup. Can always add more coals to that side. And I'm just gonna let these go until eventually I move those steaks over as well and we get those going indirect. Add some more fuel, and these will take about 70 to 80 minutes total cooking time. They're kind of, well, that one's got a thick middle, but they're about average size for nice tri-tips. They'll shrink and ball up quite a bit, but this is going to be a delicious dinner. Very, very great, simple, easy way to build layers of flavor when you're grilling is to use some of that marinade. Got to use some of that marinade a second time, right? We're going to move that in a second over here, rearrange our artichokes, and close that lid. Last thing we need to do, our Orzo pilaf. Put a couple tablespoons of butter into a pot. Add 2 cups of Orzo. And we just want to stir that around and toast the Orzo in the brown butter. Not too high heat. I have this on a nice medium. I don't want to burn the Orzo or scorch it. I just want to toast it. Now, it's kind of tough to see, but you can actually note that some of those little pieces of Orzo pasta are starting to turn golden brown. And it does it in a beautiful, uneven way. You can smell it before it happens, which is why when you're doing this part of the process, you should never, ever leave the pot. Because you don't want to scorch these pieces of pasta. You just want to toast them. And toasting them in brown butter is just heavenly. And the easiest way, and the necessary way, to stop this from browning is to add anything cold or anything moist to the pan. Obviously, you could add water or stock, but I'm going to start to add my vegetables. I have some yellow peppers and thyme. I have my lemon zest and my carrot that's diced. And the moment that I add these to the pan, it starts to lower the temperature. Oh, look at the color of that toasted Orzo, nice and nut brown. And I just keep stirring. Brown is great. We don't want anything past nut brown. And now that I've got everything going in the pan and my thermal momentum going, I add 4 cups of chicken broth. And we're going to bring that to a simmer. It's coming to a simmer. Slap a lid on it, lower the heat, and let it cook for 20 minutes. All right. My coal bed is still nice and hot. My artichokes are getting really nice and roasty toasty. I'm just going to let them be. I've turned all of these so that I'm evenly cooking them next to the heat here. I put another smear of the marinade on top of my tri-tips. Look at how much they've shrunk. This one is probably close to being ready. No, they need to cook for a little while longer.
And I'll finish everything over the high heat, but right now it's just roasting along at about 425 degrees grill temp over the heat. But that's, you know, we're still nice and toasty over there. Better to go low and slow than to burn up and fade away, as the song lyric goes. Okay, another 25 minutes has elapsed. Ooh, baby, look at that. I'm just gently blowing on those coals. Just when you lift the lid, I have air holes open below. I have air holes open above, so we're getting nice constant heat. And look at those artichokes. How perfect are they? We're gonna cut them in half, and then we're going to take the chokes out before we serve them. But what we wanna do is we wanna make sure that these are tender all the way through. And yes, a leaf pulled out. Still could cook for a little while longer. The leaf pulled out, but just a little bit before tender. These tri-tips are perfect. So they're ready to rest on our cutting board here. And we'll let those artichokes go for another 10-15 minutes while the meat rests. That, my friends, is a delicious tri-tip sirloin. 20 minutes later, you can still, there's just a little bit of moisture. I'm gonna season this again. And then I'm going to add the juice of a lemon. Maybe half a lemon. The idea here is we have all of that lemon peel, but I want some fresh lemon. I want this to be really vibrant and tart. So I think that half lemon was probably nice enough. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to cover this and turn off the heat completely and let that hold for about 10 minutes while our meat rests, and then we'll serve. It got a little too dark out to show you everything coming off the grill, but suffice to say, after an additional 20 minutes on the grill while the meat was resting, the artichokes just turned out perfectly. First things first, the tzatziki, nice and thick, absolutely perfect. A little bit of garlic and shallot flavor has bloomed in there. So have all those herbs and the lemon juice. The Orzo Pilaf has absorbed that last little bit of liquid. You can see there's none left in there. I can smell the fresh lemon. Look at how gorgeous that is. That is just absolutely perfect. And the shine from that brown butter, perfection. And stayed nice and hot, by the way, if you notice. Obviously, the cucumber salad. Once you see some of these cucumbers, especially if you slice them nice and thin, begin to curl, they are perfectly pickled, but I've served this fresh myself. You can also drain it and stir in sour cream in each portion if you like, but this sweet and sour cucumber salad with red onion is absolutely perfect. And here are those fabulous, fabulous artichokes that I was telling you about. I'm going to cut them in half. And this is how we are going to serve them. The hearts are absolutely tender. The dogs are at my feet, which means they must know it's dinner time. And all you want to do is take a spoon and just pull the choke out, right? Super, super simple. Really easy.
I like to serve it that way because I don't want my guests to have to deal with it, right? And you can use your thumb on the other side, take out some of those little pieces of the choke that remain behind. Sometimes you get a couple in there that little persnickety over here, but this just makes it so nice for your guests when you can actually, let me just clean this up a little bit, pull that out, when you can actually serve it like this. And people can pull the leaves off and dunk it in butter, which is really, really lovely. So we're gonna get some of this done and cleaned up, and then we'll slice into our steak. Okay, let's see how this turned out. Absolutely perfect. Look at that. With tri-tip, juicy, pink, but cooked all the way through. That is going to be butter, butter tender. Wow. Look at that. That is stunning. Yeah, even the dog thinks so. Okay. So, make a nice little plate here. A little bit of the orzo, a little bit of the cucumber salad, a little bit of the tzatziki, a little artichoke, a few slices of that tri-tip sirloin. That is a simple, easy summer dinner that just is too good to be true. Cannot wait to dig into this. How good is this? Yeah, it's that good. This is bo tai chan, which is a Vietnamese rare beef or raw beef salad. It's so delicious. Vietnamese rare beef salad with lime juice, a stunning lime juice, chili, fish sauce, and garlic recipe. Perfect for summertime, perfect with grilled rare beef, perfect for our week saluting Vietnam here. And this is how I played it, with some Crispies and some goodies in there. Would you like to make this? Yeah, I know you would. Stick around. Clean and oil your grill. Your steaks will love you. So for my Vietnamese beef salad, I like to start with really premium beef. These are Snake River Farms tomahawks. They're aged, they're domestic Wagyu. It really is one of the many Rolls Royces, right, of the beef world. I like their aging process. I like what they do. And I've got this over medium heat. If I start to get sooty flare-ups from these tomahawks, I just move the steaks. Two things that I insist you do when you are grilling expensive meat, and these cuts are expensive. Look, they're supermarket cuts. They're $25, $30 a pound, right? Number one, until you're really, really used to it, use a really good meat thermometer so that you know what 132 degrees feels like, right? These are still rare. They still have a little while to go. This smaller one, almost ready. But for years and years, I always use a thermometer. The other thing that's really, really important is let them rest. I let them rest until they're almost room temperature before I start slicing them. And in fact, I even prefer steak that's cooked, let rest to room temperature, stored in the fridge, and then taken out the next day and let it come to room temperature. I think that steak has the best flavor of all of them.
oftentimes in Vietnam, they make it with raw beef because they let the lime juice cure the beef itself, the same way that ceviche is cured with acid, in this case, also lime juice. I like to grill my tomahawks or luxury cut of whatever kind to rare for this salad, medium rare for another type of dish. But that way the lime juice and the fish sauce vinaigrette actually cures the beef a little bit, but I still get that great char flavor. Okay, so we grilled our steak, and I like to let it sit overnight because I think the steak gets better flavor the next day when you then let it come to room temperature after it's been charred. So now we're gonna continue the process, and we're gonna make our dressing, we're gonna make our steak and our salad, and we're going to have quite an awesome piece of easy summertime Vietnamese deliciousness. Cucumber, sliced thin. Not too thin. What's this? 1/16 of an inch, something like that. Some crisp greens. I love a little crunchy iceberg lettuce. Just a small handful per person. Tomato. You can use cherry tomatoes. You can slice a nice tomato into quarters or eighths or 1/16, depending on how big it is. I just had one small tomato. I'll cut it into eighths. Works perfectly. Shallot. Here, unlike the cucumbers, I really like paper thin rings of shallots. How stunning is that? That's a lot of shallot awesomeness. Now this salad, like so many dishes in the Vietnamese culinary canon, has tons of herbs. And I'm gonna use 3. I'm gonna use Thai basil, mint, and cilantro. The mint, I'm just gonna pass my knife over once or twice. These are some big leaves of fresh mint from the garden. I have a small handful of cilantro I'm gonna put in there. I'm using the cilantro almost like a green. Now, I know there are people out there who are going to say, oh, I hate cilantro. It's soapy. Well, half of America is with you. Cilantro tastes soapy to half the people who eat it. However, what I learned from the Vietnamese and Thais, and this is so important, they almost always serve cilantro with mint and mint with cilantro. And the reason is the antiseptic quality of the mint negates the soapiness of the cilantro, and the soapiness of the cilantro negates the antiseptic qualities of the fresh mint. So give it a try. Try them together. You'll be absolutely amazed. Thai basil, and do the same thing that I did with the mint. Just coarsely chop it so it spreads its awesomeness. Make my dressing. Juice of a lime. I don't need a lot. This lime is one of those drier limes. I probably only have about 1.5 tablespoons of juice in there, but that'll be plenty. You know, I love my Red Boat fish sauce, but I love Flying Lion brand out of Vietnam. Really yummy, delicious fish sauce. And I usually use the same amount of fish sauce that I do lime juice. Now this is palm sugar, coconut palm sugar. It comes in tubs like this. It's delicious. It's got a lower glycemic level than sugar, but it also has a really delicious and mellow sweetness. I absolutely love it. So, you know, scrape some up in there. If I need a little more tartness, I add a little more lime. And if I need a little more umami, fishiness, I add a little bit more fish sauce. But this is sort of the holy trinity of it. You know, the garlic, the ginger,
if you choose to put some in, but for sure you should put in garlic. The hot chili, that's all sort of to taste, but the sweetness, the fishy umami-ness, and the tartness, sort of a non-negotiable holy trinity, right? Microplane, garlic clove. Why is this so important? Well, I want garlic flavor in here, but I do not want people to bite down on a big piece of garlic. And one clove will perfume all of this dressing. And then, of course, I have one beautiful hot chili that I'm gonna slice paper thin. Come back at it the other way with my knife. And then you just slide that off into there. And the same way that the garlic gets infused in there, same thing with the chili. And I just let it sit for 20 seconds. Oh, perfect. All right, this is the moment I know everyone sort of waiting for. Well, let me speak for myself. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. Ribeye. This is the muscle that attaches to the rib. This is the eye. This is the spinalis, that wonderful piece that comes all the way around. And why do I pull it apart? Well, it's so easy when I'm working with a cooled piece of meat that I've let come to room temperature to cut away every piece of connective tissue that there is. That way I have, and there's quite a lot on a ribeye, so that I'm able to have 100% usable beef product. Spinalis there. This beautiful muscle that attaches it to the bone down at the heel. Stuff like that is great for sandwiches or other usages. But I want to show you something. This is the entire eye, right? But look, when you turn on its side, it's just surrounded by fat and connective tissue. So very, very carefully, and I would never teach anyone to do this. This is one of those things, do as I say, not as I do. But I've been working with a knife for a long time. Just take off very thin layer. It's beautiful. All trimmed up and ready to slice. All right, so all we're gonna do is slice this in thin strips, and look at that beautiful marbling. This is Snake River Farms finest. And I'm going about, I don't know, somewhere around 1/12 of an inch thick. Look at how beautiful that is. Just a gorgeous piece of meat. Charred on the outside, wall-to-wall pink, beautifully done. If I was doing a composed salad, would I fan this out over the top of it and let people eat it with a fork and knife? Absolutely. But I'm doing this as a tossed salad. So even though I could, better still, what about cutting this in fourths? And I've got all these beautiful strips. And let's just put them on the side here. So now I take my dressing and I pour it over the beef and then over the rest of my salad. And then I take it, these are, by the way, the Andrew Zimmern collab with Blanc Creatives spoon set. Yes, we still have a few available. Yes, you should get them. And I just give this a very gentle toss. Gentle, because it doesn't take a lot to mix the dressing, But I do want to make sure that the cucumber and the shallots and the herbs are all kind of mixed together. The beef is mixed well. I don't need salt because I have it in the fish sauce. I don't need pepper because I have that in the hot chili, but if you would like to add some, add white pepper. So I take a portion of the salad, place it in a bowl. Always want to make sure, you know, we get sort of a hero piece of beef on there so it looks really nice. Some of that cucumber is really absolutely perfect there. Now, one of the things that you'll see two different types of garnish for this, oftentimes used together in Vietnam. One of them is a little bit of crispy rice stick noodle. And if you don't have that and you have some other kind of crispy Asian fried noodle, by all means use that. The crispy texture is just great. So I have a little bit of fried Chinese noodle on there. And then I have a little mortar and pestle here. And I've put a couple of, about like a tablespoon of roasted peanuts. I don't want to turn this to peanut butter. I mean, 4 or 5 strokes and it's pretty ground up, but it's also fairly crunchy and just a little bit of that toasted peanut on there. It's not a peanut salad or a peanutty salad, but it's such a nice crunch and it adds so much flavor to this. So very, very simple Vietnamese beef salad. I can't encourage you to eat this way more, especially with leftovers. You can do this with leftover grilled chicken or fish or anything. The vinaigrette is what makes it. Okay, most importantly, like we do at the end of all of these videos, how does it taste? It's just an explosion of flavor. Sour, salty, bitter, sweet, crunchy, soft, crispy, cold, warm, rich, acidic, all these contrasting and complementary flavors. This is what the cooking of Vietnam, and in fact all of Southeast Asia, is all about. A fireworks of flavor, and is why people love the food of those countries. This is the Vietnamese beef salad you are going to be making all summer long. See you next time. You want to learn how to make cheeseburger meatballs with a ketchup-y sauce that goes around it and some melted string cheese on top for good measure. Salty, sweet, meaty, beady, big and bouncy, toasty, bready perfection. Yeah, I know you do. Give me 4 or 5 minutes and I'm going to show you of your time and I'll show you how. So take a look at what I have in here. I have breadcrumbs, red chili flakes, a little bit of oregano, about 1.5 cups of grated cheese, cheddar, a pound of beef, and about a cup and well, I took 3 onions, diced them, and caramelized them, and then let them cool. And you can probably guess why I caramelized the onions ahead of time, because they're gonna be inside the meatballs, right? And so I don't want raw onion that gets cooked inside the meatball. I want that caramelized onion flavor, because if you're making a cheeseburger meatball hero, you're gonna wanna have caramelized onions, and I want them inside the meatballs instead of outside. I'm gonna add an egg. We'll beat that. I'm gonna add, a few tablespoons of half and half. 3 tablespoons of half and half. And what I wanna do is, I just wanna squish that egg up with my hand and combine all of these ingredients. I'm gonna season them with salt and pepper before they go into my pan on the outside. And I am going to form balls that will fit inside of that hero loaf. And then after we brown them a little bit, we have to continue to cook them. So you have a choice. You can put them in the oven. I find they get tougher that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simmer them essentially in homemade ketchup. Now don't turn off your video player. Every time I hear the word homemade ketchup, I have a heart attack because I just like plain old ketchup. However, the principles of spices, along with sugar, vinegar, and tomato puree, is essentially what ketchup is. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simmer these 3 ingredients around the balls to make a little bit of a glaze that is gonna remind you of ketchup, and stuffed inside of my hero is gonna provide just enough saucy sauce to make this sandwich the best you've ever had. So I'm just making these about a little bit bigger than a golf ball size, and I'm not trying to overwork it. I'm just taking enough meat and just gently rolling it. I don't want to compress them. I want them light and airy. That is a perfect light and airy meatball. And you know when they're getting overworked. Do not overwork them. They will be tough. So I have the pan relatively low in terms of the setting. And you'll notice that there's no sizzling sound when this goes in. That's because I don't want a lot of browning. I just want the balls to start to lightly color up, and you can see right in there a little bit of oil flickering. That's about as much heat as I'm comfortable with. And the reason is really simple. If I brown them too much, they're gonna be crusty on the outside and soft on the inside, and we don't want that. We want them to be soft all the way through. So there you go. And after a couple minutes, all we want to do is flip those over. Now, of course, with the breadcrumb and the egg and the cheese, you're going to get browning, but we're not going to get super heavy crusting, right? That's what I'm trying to avoid. And these are going to simmer up beautifully when we add our tomato products. So after about, 3 or 4 minutes on each side, and we get some nice browning, we're gonna add our tomato products that'll cook down to a glaze around those. About a tablespoon of white vinegar and about 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we're just gonna let that simmer and come together. We're not gonna stir it until those meatballs, those cheeseburger meatballs, sort of set a little bit more. Just, let it cook for another minute or 2. Let's start to simmer around the edges. Let those meatballs get firm enough so you can move them freely. Then you can incorporate all the different elements of that sauce together. We'll season it with a little salt. We'll reduce that down to a glaze around the meatballs, and then we get to eat. So now that it's simmered for a couple minutes, these meatballs are still medium rare in the center, but I'm going to flip them, and they're so easy to flip. And the solids and the liquids on the tomatoes have separated. We've got the liquid out of those solids. And I'm just going to turn all of these over, and by doing so, as I'm doing this, I'm able to mix in all those other ingredients. That sugar and that vinegar are going to get equally distributed. And give that another stir, and you can see that this liquidy sauce, we're just gonna simmer that until it tightens up. We're gonna put our bread in the oven and get it nice and crispy. Okay. Sauce has tightened. Bread has toasted. And we can go right in there. And you see why I make these meatballs a little bigger than ones I would make for soup necessarily, or spaghetti. Let's try to get a fourth one in the end there, simply because I just want one layer of meatballs, then a little bit of that sauce that goes there. And then if you really want, because remember there's cheese inside these cheese meatballs, right? I like salty string cheese. I mean, I do live in Minnesota after all. And so rather than put this underneath the broiler, oh, Luca, I just like to hit this with a little torch. Get that string cheese nice and caramelized. And that, you know you're not getting any. That's why you're upset. They're not getting any. That, my friends, is cheeseburger meatball perfection. Do I dare to cut it in half? I don't dare. That's it. How gorgeous is that? Yeah, you want to make this. So, the meatballs are light. They're cheesy on the inside. The dogs are going crazy. Yeah, I know. You're not getting any. It's sweet, it's sour, it's meaty, it's cheesy. This is the ultimate cheeseburger experience, and it comes in a meatball sub. You want to make this.